he had 30 goals last year, and he wasn't fully healthy. I think the world of Bedard. I honestly do. And the rebuild as a whole, they have all the pieces in place. The patience, I think, is just running out a little bit, but these guys are all still so young.
Welcome back to the Blackhawks Conversation. Today we have a very special guest, Jonny Lazarus. You might know him from Daily Face-Off, co-host Morning Cup of Hockey podcast, works for BR Open Ice as well, does some college hockey stuff. You do it all, really. I mean, any sort of hockey coverage you want, your name pops up. You really do it all. If you don't follow him already, be sure to do so. But I really appreciate you taking the time, and I'm excited to hear your thoughts on the Blackhawks as somebody who's not directly involved.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the kind intro, Ryan, and thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk little Blackhawks. I actually, you know what? I'll just say it flat out, too. I got so much shit last year for an Artem Levshunov take I had where I was calling him not much of an offensive defenseman, and Blackhawks fans let me hear it. So I'm curious what you think of him, too. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting year for Chicago. I'm a big fan of the organization, love Kyle Davidson, so I'm hoping the Blackhawks get back on the right track and do well this year.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that. And the first thing I was actually going to ask you is it might not directly apply to you after hearing you say that, but the national narrative around this team is just, in my opinion, just appalling. I mean, it seems the consensus is it's still only Bedard who wants out, apparently, still.
Haven't heard that.
They're this directionless team. The Byram sign-in trade was terrible. This Patrick Kane signing was just a PR move, and it's not going to help them win. You hear all these things kind of across the NHL space, but as someone who focuses on the Hawks, it seems like the reality is it's a team that has potentially 11 of their own first-round picks playing on the team next year. They have solid young goaltending in Spencer Knight. They got one of the best young players in the game who's only being surrounded by a better cast every year. I mean, he's going to have Anton Frondel this year, Kanserov, who just led the KHL in goals, Frank Nazar, who's only getting better, and now you bring in the greatest American-born player of all time who still has some hockey left in him. So I just kind of want to get your opinion on maybe why you think there's such a difference between what Hawks media think and what the general NHL consensus is on this team.
Well, there's a lot of things to that, right? I think the biggest thing when you look at the division, right, you look at Colorado, Dallas, Minnesota, where Utah now is. Winnipeg's kind of fallen off a bit. Nashville's fallen off a bit. St. Louis is in a weird in-between right now. But the Blackhawks, I think fans are so used to them being towards the top. Now it's been a few years, 6 years, 7 years since they've been pretty relevant in the standings. And it's not looking like they're getting any closer to the top with how good the Colorado, Dallas, and Minnesota teams are. And like I said, Utah kind of now starting to climb. So I think that's why maybe fans look at them and don't have a ton of hope just because there's still so many obstacles in the way once they finally even get good. But that said, like when you look at their roster, there is a clear direction of, trying to build a next wave, right? Like the Blackhawks had such a strong, I don't know, what was it? 8 years, let's say, where they were pretty much, making a run in the playoffs. I think the 08 playoffs, if I remember correctly, or maybe 09. Whichever that year was, Havlat had like the overtime winner. I think they beat Calgary, and then they ended up maybe losing to Detroit in the conference final. Patty Kane had that sick backhand short side on, I want to say, Chris Osgood.
Run,
yeah, that run was sick. But like from that year until 2017, let's say, they were very relevant and could win a cup in any of those years and competitive. And it's hard to find a window that lasts that long. And they won 3 cups. Like Chicago fans are a little bit spoiled. Yeah, I know it's been a rough, near or whatever, how many last couple of years. I'm kind of losing my train of thought here. But I look at the direction now, and at the Garden, when they played, I think in April, there was like 7 first-round picks over the last 4 years on the ice for the Blackhawks. Yeah, those guys haven't necessarily become studs just yet, but you look at guys on the blue line like Vlasic, like Rinzel. I know Levshunov has a very high ceiling, and I know he hasn't hit it just yet, but fans have a lot to be excited about. And in goal with Spencer Knight, like you mentioned, there's a lot of guys who are sort of teetering towards becoming really good NHL players. They're showing some promise, haven't shown consistency, but there is, I think, a goal of being good in the next few years. And yeah, the Kane signing, I mean, is he worth $8 million right now? It's hard to say he's not when he's still producing. You know, he's still putting up points, and the Red Wings have had some shitty luck over the past few years. But I got to imagine once Bedard's healthy, those two playing together, you know, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm stoked to watch that combo. I mean, Kane's by far going to be the probably the definitely the most skilled player Bedard has ever played with. Maybe even the probably even the best player he's played with. I mean, up until now, it's been Andre Burakovsky is probably the best line mate he's had. Um, I'm almost more interested to see what Patrick Kane can do with a guy like Frank Nazar. And I know you've had Nazar on your show
Yeah, I
before.
love him.
He's awesome, man. He's. I mean, I've never met him, but from everything I've seen, like he seems like such a cool guy, and he seems to have some of that showtime in him, both on and off the ice. And I think that's why I'm so excited to see those two work together. And with Bedard being out, there's going to be that opportunity for Frank Nazar. I think he's going to get the first line center spot. I don't think you give it to a 19-year-old Frondell after he's only played 12 games. I think you probably give it to Nazar. He's going to have a lot of opportunity with Bedard being out. He had an electric start to last year, 11 points in the first 10. And then he just riddled with injuries. I mean, three separate injuries last season. What do you think he can do with this opportunity? Do you think he can live up to that expectation he had when he signed the $6.5 million deal?
Well, let me ask you the question, Ryan. Like, what was the expectation for him to become? Like, I don't know if I look at Frank Nazar and I think, you know, a 90-point player just yet. Like, maybe he can get there. I don't know if that's where he is right now. Like, he's still entering what is his, this is going to be his third full NHL season.
Yeah,
And he's still such a
pretty
young
much. Yeah.
guy. He's like 22, you know, or
Yeah.
20, 20, is he 23? He did what, 2 years of
I think he's
college?
22 and 23 in January. I think.
23 in January. So like, yeah, still
Yeah.
super young. Like I said, third full NHL season. Like this is a guy who should, without a doubt, get you 65 points this year. I think that's like a reasonable goal for Frank Nazar, especially if he's getting consistent top 6 minutes, especially if he's getting consistent power play time. I know he hasn't hit the 50-point mark yet, but if he's getting all the opportunity, if he's playing with a guy like Patrick Kane, if he's playing with a lot of skilled guys around him, even though they are young, I think 65 points is a reasonable number for him to hit and a target for him to hit with the quality of skill he has. I mean, he's a high first round pick in the first, I think 13th overall, if I'm not mistaken. But you know, this is a guy I think again, just because what's been around him, it's been tough for him to get going. And this year, it seems like the Blackhawks are just taking that next step, and hopefully they can continue to do what they were doing in the first half of the year. Like they were within a playoff spot by Thanksgiving, you know, until Bedard got hurt, and then
Yeah.
that's when things kind of started to fall apart for them. But they were competitive for a really, really strong, a really first stretch of the season. Sorry.
Well, I think you answered the expectation question perfectly
Yeah,
because
I guess I did. Yeah.
I would have said exactly you said 60-point guy is kind of what I've always said. I expect Nazar to be super fast, very competent two-way player, very good in his own end. I think that's the type of player you're looking at when you think what's his ceiling going to be or his an average season for him maybe going to look like. I think should be around 60 points. An interesting thing with him is where he's going to play. Like Kyle Davidson's gone on record and said next season they want to do Bedard, Frondell, Nazar down the middle, all those guys centers, and that could really limit Frank Nazar's opportunity. I mean, I've said many times on my show, he's not a third line player. I think if he's not,
No.
I think one of those two guys, Nazar or Frondell, has to go to the wing. One of them is going to be your second line center, and I think I like Nazar on the wing. I think I don't know, he's probably better down the middle, but Anton Frondell looked so good down the middle last year in his 12 games. I think he played 9 of them down the middle. He
I
was
was gonna
second line
say,
center.
was he playing? He was playing wing the first few games though, right? Like when I saw him play at, he played the Islanders and the Rangers. I think like within 3 days, I
Yeah.
was at both games. I think he was on the wing, if I remember
Yeah, he
correctly.
started on Bedard's wing, and I think it
Yeah.
was, I want to say 3 games he played on the wing.
Okay.
And then they moved him to center, and he was playing with Mikheyev and Bertuzzi, who good players. They're not, line drivers necessarily. And Anton Frondell was the guy driving that line. So I think he's a guy I want to see down the middle next year. You mentioned Levshinov, and it's funny that you said that you got a bit of flack there from Hawks fans saying
Oh
he's
yeah.
not really much of an offensive defenseman, which is fair. I mean, it's funny. Like the offensive side of his game is the only certainty I see. Like I see really good offensive instincts and a really natural offensive defenseman. He's a very deceptive skater. He's got a great shot. He has a he's really good at finding open space. He's very mobile. It's the defensive side of the game. I don't know how much you watched last year, but he had a tough year. He had a really rough year, and I
Yeah.
think that's sullied a lot of people's opinions on him.
I guess I just didn't think of him like I don't think of Lev Shunov, and again, I know he's super young too, and I'm not trying to like criticize a young player. I hate when people like give up on young guys. Like that's not who I am at all. Um, but when I watch him play and people label him as an offensive defenseman, I don't see him necessarily controlling the play like you see other offensive defensemen do. And that's where I
Yeah,
say, I wouldn't say I'd label him as a defensive defenseman. I just don't look at him as a guy who's a threat to create offense every time he's out there. Granted, I don't watch the Blackhawks every single night. They haven't been must-watch television for me since he stepped into the league. Obviously, he quarterbacks the power play, does a good job there. But even on the power play, I don't feel like when he has it, he's a threat to score. What does he even have? Like 2 goals in the first 2 years of his career?
yeah. Well,
Like,
I agree with that. He struggled on the power play, and that's why he had five forwards on the power play at the end of
yeah.
the year. He just couldn't do it.
And I
But to
know,
your point,
well, I also know like when you say offensive defenseman, you're not just talking about goals. You're talking about creating offense, keeping plays alive, creating, a play off of a breakout, things like that. But I don't know. I haven't seen it strong enough yet for me to consider him to be like a good offensive defenseman.
and that's fair. That's a fair criticism, and I'm glad you said that you don't want to give up on a player that
Yeah.
young, and you don't like when people give up on players that young because development's not linear, and it can be rough for a lot of players. And Artem Levshinov, it looks like he's one of those guys. I mean, it was hard to watch at times last year. I mean, there were games where I was sitting here saying like, this guy cannot skate. He would just trip over
Yeah.
nothing when he had the puck. It was actually kind of funny to watch, but I couldn't believe that I was watching the second overall pick do this. But
Well,
I think
I'll
there's
add to
a
that
there's a
though.
monster in there.
If I can, yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt, but like I skated with him last summer. I was at the SoFlo League. I went down to play for a weekend, and I played on the same team as him. And again, like I don't want to like that was a 3-on-3 small rink, like so tough to judge a player. But like being on the ice with him, I did leave a little underwhelmed. I was like, oh my god, like this is a second overall pick. I thought like he'd be the most skilled guy by far out here, and he wasn't. And like that's where
Yeah,
maybe my mindset shifted of like what I thought of him going into last season. Because usually when you're out there with guys, like you could tell this guy is different. Like this guy is
yeah,
unbelievable. And like, I thought Brandon Duhaime was more skilled. Like that's just it's
yeah.
just a different feel when you're actually on the ice with those guys. But again, like I think Lev Shunov can become that. I'm not going to say a 20-year-old kid can't become that. I just don't see it yet.
Where do you where do you stack up the Hawks rebuild when the teams are compared to all the time? San Jose, Anaheim, Utah to a certain extent, although I think they kind of started their thing a little bit sooner. When you look at how San Jose is doing it, how Anaheim's doing it, and how Chicago's doing it, how do those rebuilds compare? What is Chicago doing well? What do you think they maybe are lacking or not doing as well as those other teams?
Well, it's been what, like 3 years, 4 years? Yeah.
Yeah, started in 2022. They got Bedard in 23.
I mean, they've certainly gotten the draft picks, right? Like they've drafted guys like Bedard, like Levshunov, Oliver Moore. I think is not a guy to glance past. Like I think he's a stud. He's a great kid as well. Like I'm so pumped about like that kid's personality. Nazar, obviously, Frondell can't like. Was Kanserov a draft pick? Remind me. Like I know Hawks fans
Yeah,
are so high on him, but I don't know a lot about Kanserov. I see Chief talk about him all the time, but I haven't like watched him play or anything. Um,
yeah, he's a second round pick in 23.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen much of him, but I know like even Vlasic's such a stud. Like I know they haven't panned out just yet, but like with how we talk about Macklin Celebrini, I mean Bedard was right there with him, right until he got hurt last year. Like the whole point scoring race, I feel like was McKinnon, Bedard, Celebrini for the first,
Yeah.
quarter of the season. Like it was actually incredible with Crosby, Ovechkin, McDavid, Bedard, so like the three generations of NHL stars that were like in the scoring race or producing in the early parts of the season was unbelievable. So I think right now, just maybe we haven't seen Bedard fully take off in a consistent full season, right? Like 2 years ago, he got criticized a lot. Then last year, he kind of proved those doubters a little bit wrong and had a little bit of fuck you in his game. Sorry, I don't mean to curse.
No, it's
Um,
all right.
but like now you need to see that for 84 games, like you just need to see it throughout the entire year. And I think he could be the guy. Like I feel like people have said Bedard can't be the guy. He's shown it in his first few years. He's different than Macklin. Macklin separated himself from the pack, which again, Macklin Celebrini has been unbelievable. And I'm not denying that at all. But I think Bedard still he had 30 goals last year, and he wasn't fully healthy.
Yeah.
I think the world of Bedard. I honestly do. And the rebuild as a whole, they have all the pieces in place. The patience, I think, is just running out a little bit. But these guys are all still so young. Like you look at the roster, I feel like more than half the roster is under the age of 24. What are they supposed
Yeah.
to do?
Yeah, I think they had an average age at the end of last year of like 24.8 or
I'm
something,
gonna pull it up right now.
25.8, something like that.
Okay, maybe I'm a little wrong,
Yeah,
but
really young team.
Bedard 21, Nazar 22, Cancer 21, Frondel 19, Boisvert, Beauvoir. How do you say his name? Beauvoir?
Boisvert.
Boisvert. He's the BU kid, right? Yeah. Sasha Boisvert,
Yeah.
20. Ryan Green, 22. Oliver Moore, 21. Landon Slaggert, 24. Byram, 25. Last 25. Kaiser, 24. They're shooting on 20. Renzel, 22. Korchinski, 22. These guys are all so young.
Yeah. Yeah, and it takes time, and there definitely is. I think it's the people who are not as patient are always the more vocal ones. So you see a lot of online, and you think that Hawks fans are fed up, but I think in the reality, most fans understand that this thing takes time, and I think they understand the approach Kyle Davidson took, which is absolutely tear it down to the studs. This thing is going to take a while to build back
Yeah.
up. I think most fans understand that. Um, but yeah, as far as the Bedard Celebrini thing goes, I mean, I've gotten red in the face having that debate a few times. I'm not going to sit here and say Bedard's better. I mean, Celebrini did certainly separate himself
Yeah.
last year with not only what he did in the NHL, but the Olympics too. I mean, that was, as a Canadian, that was fun to watch. Maybe not the last game, but up to that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I do think the gap is smaller than people think, and I think if Bedard can stay healthy and have a full season, and as the team gets better around him, I think you're going to see that gap close, and they're going to be the 1-2 at the top of the league, and when they're in their primes, and it's going to be a fun battle to watch, and fans have already penciled in that rivalry as much as I don't know
Oh,
if
yeah.
the players have, but fans certainly have. I actually think that the bigger rivalry there is with Utah. I mean, they played 4 times in like 12 days or something last season, and it just got so heated, and you can tell those teams did not like each other. And I actually, when I was down at the rink watching Bedard practice, his parents were there all the time, so I would chat with his dad, and uh, he was like, him and Logan Cooley just can't stand each other. Like they
Actually,
hate each other. Yeah, and I
like
found that it was
personally
kind of.
too.
Well, I asked that, and I was like, I
Yeah.
said that exactly. I was like personally, and he says, well, I don't think they've ever really met off the ice,
Yeah.
but certainly playing against each other, and it kind of validated what I had said, where I was like, no, I think this Utah rivalry is more to watch, and you can tell those two teams just hate each other.
That's a great
I
little nugget though. Like I haven't
sorry,
heard that. That's an awesome nugget. Like that Cooley and Bedard
yeah,
nature. That's great. I love that.
yeah, they gave me a lot of kind of cool little
Yeah.
stories there. It was a lot of fun. I
That's
I, I
awesome.
enjoyed talking to them. They're super nice people, and Bedard's such a nice kid, and
Mhm.
you can tell just talking to his parents, they just raised him so well. They're the nicest people. His mom, Melanie, I'm not even exaggerating. She might be the nicest person I've ever met in my entire life. Um, but transitioning more to your area, I'm a big Rangers guy. I've always liked the Rangers. Mika Zibanejad is my favorite non-Hawk of all time. I'm a
Why is
huge
that?
Zibanejad fan. I saw him on a podcast years ago, and I was like, this guy's a pretty cool personality. And then I started watching, and I just loved his game. And I started watching the Rangers because of that. So I actually do really like the Rangers, and I want to see them do well. And I know it's kind of been rough. They had that sort of small retool that maybe didn't go quite as planned, and they haven't obviously seen that Stanley Cup yet that a lot of us thought they were going to see. I don't follow the Rangers super closely. Like I said, I do watch them throughout the year when I can, but I'm not up to date on everything. What's the expectation for next season? Like, what are you looking to see out of them? Are they looking to stay competitive? Are they maybe going to do another retool? Like, what's the plan there?
I think right now the plan is to adjust on the fly. That's kind of how they've been acting over the past few seasons, right? Like they've traded away so many guys in season. They got rid of Kreider last summer, brought in a guy like Gavrikov. This summer they really revamped their blue line, but I still think the forward group is a little weaker than I'd like. And I think right now the biggest question going into the season is where the Rangers' goal is going to come from. I think the back end is looking solid. The goaltending obviously is looking strong with Igor Shesterkin. They brought in Eunice Corpusalo to help maintain the goaltending position with Jonathan Quick now retiring. But you look at these top two lines and it's a little underwhelming. Like obviously I think the world of these guys is people. Like you said, I love Mika Zibanejad, even love JT Miller. I know people are kind of hit or miss on JT in Vancouver. You might be a guy who maybe doesn't feel so strongly about him. I'm not sure. But again, like there's a lot of question marks right now. Like Gabe Pro, second full season pro, what can he give you? I think he can put up 60 points, but does that mean he'll do it? I'm not sure. Alexi Lafreniere, I thought he can put up 60, 70 points the last few seasons. He hasn't done it yet in his career. What's he going to give you? Not sure. These are question marks. We don't know what you're going to get from two guys like that. And then Dorofeyev obviously coming over for the first time since being traded away from Vegas. Like, what is he going to look like on this roster? Is he automatically scoring 30? You'd like to think so, but I don't know. So those are the questions right now. And then there's a hole on the second line in the wing position where either Oliver Bjorkstrand or Will Cooley is going to fill that right now unless they sign somebody or someone surprises at a training camp like a Nathan Aspinall or Liam Greentree. So right now I think the Rangers back end looks solid, but the forward group I think is just a little bit, I don't want to say weak, but it's a little bit average. So I think they'll be fine when it comes to defending, but when it comes to scoring goals, I think they're going to struggle this year.
I know it's hard to project too far into the future, but realistically, how much longer do you think this window is with this core that they have with Fox and Miller and Zibanejad?
If I'm being honest, I think the window's like kind of already shut. I don't see this core winning, if I'm being fully honest. But this is just where they're at right now. Chris Drury wanted to remain competitive. He got rid of a 2028 first round pick, got rid of a 2030 first round pick, and they're kind of just taking their last jab with this core. And they have Zibanejad and they have JT Miller locked up for another 4 years, and those guys both have no move clauses. Adam Fox has no move clause for another year, and then I believe it becomes a like limited, maybe like I want to say 16 team no trade list. But until, you can find a better first line center, a better second line center, like JT and Mika are very good hockey players, but I wouldn't say they're, in the upper echelon of first and second line centers in the NHL, and you need those to win a Stanley Cup. So it's tough right now. I think they're kind of stuck just dealing with what they've got.
Fair enough. One question I'll end on here. I got to ask you, famous moment in the playoffs last year in the Stanley Cup final. Your question to John Tortorella. You just got shut down. I'm a little bit jealous. It seems like you took it well. I remember you said it's a badge of honor.
Yeah.
That's certainly how I would take it. What was that moment like for you, and what were your initial thoughts right when he said that to you?
Yeah. Well, the 2 minutes after he answered it, I was like, oh shit, man. Like I was sweating. I was like, oh man, I can't believe that just happened to me. And then as soon as he left the room, every other reporter in the room was like, thought it was a fair question. And I kind of like, was thinking to myself, did I ask a dumb question? And, every time I thought of the answer, I was like, honestly, I'd ask it again, So
Yeah.
I'm a huge John Tortorella fan. Like that hasn't changed at all. I know he's protecting his player there. I know he didn't think that was the dumbest question he's ever heard. Like it's a high emotional moment. They just lost game 5, a pivotal game 5, and he's defending his guy. And maybe 3 years ago, I would have been like, oh man, like my career's over. I can't believe that just happened to me. But the more I've learned about coaches, the more I've learned about the way things operate, like I would hope he answered it that way every single time if I were to ask that question. Like that is the right way, I think, to answer that question in that moment, because you do want to show faith in the guy that you're going to end up starting in the next game, But for me, like I was questioning, why not give Aiden Hill a shot? So I I got nothing but love for John Tortorella. I think he's the man. I think he's the best. I'm sure he'll be behind a bench again. But yeah, that moment was wild. I mean, the amount of texts and tweets and stuff that I got following that was pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie. Like all my friends were texting me, dude, you're on SportsCenter right now because John Tortorella roasted you. Like that was awesome. Like who wouldn't love that? And for me,
Yeah.
like, I played, like I kind of get how coaches operate. So it's hard to really offend me or get me to take something personal. But that was awesome.
Well, it'd be different, I think, if it was a bad question,
Oh
but
yeah,
you
I beat
asked
myself up.
what everybody was thinking. I mean, that was probably the most fair question that's been asked
Thank you.
in that cup final. So, yeah, I'm glad to hear that didn't let it get you down and you have a positive outlook on it. Because, like I said when I asked the question, I mean, I'm a little jealous. Everyone needs that from John Tortorella. I'm a John Tortorella guy too, so
Well, that's
I
what I'm
hope you
saying,
can
Ryan.
get
Like I
that
grew
feeling
up
as well.
watching all the videos of him like going at media, and I always found it hilarious. So how am I gonna pout
Yeah.
if it happens to me? You know?
And now you have a great story for the
Yeah.
rest of your life as well too. You're part of that now,
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. Hopefully have you on again sometime down the line. And yeah, if you don't already follow Jonny, be sure to. I'm sure you already do, but if you don't, go ahead and do it. Where can they find you?
All over Twitter, just JLazzy23. That's where I live. So, Ryan, I appreciate you having me on. And if you're ever in New York City, hit me up. We'll get together. Or if I'm in Vancouver, I'll hit
Will
you up. All right.
will do, man. Sounds good.
Thank you.